This conference will now be recorded.
Guys, first of all, thanks for joining this first session, the demo class on security testing course. Very quick introduction about me. I'm Satish. I have close to 15 years of experience in the software industry, right from product development, performance testing, performance engineering, security testing. So the complete SDLC cycle, I've been working across these 15 years, right? And I've also been with Isha for the last 2 to 3 years, taking various courses across performance, engineering, DevOps, and security. Okay. Today, I would like to go everybody in mute. If any of you have any questions during the session, you can put it on the chat, or I'll probably will spend last 5-10 minutes. I'll take your questions, and meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can also put it in the chat. Okay. So today is our first session, or more from an introduction to the course and the content. So next 45 minutes to 1 hour, I'll spend time over giving the overview on the course, some of the introductions, some of the concepts, and then I'll go through the topics that we will learn in this course, and finally we'll take some questions. Okay, fine. So I would presume most of you are experienced software professionals. Either you might be from development background, or some of you might be functional testers, performance testers, or a test lead, right? I mean, I presume most of you are fall under any of these categories. Okay, so which means most of you might know the way testing works in an IT industry, the way the SDLC cycle works, the way from deployment, development, deployment, testing. So all these things, how it operates in a typical IT project, you might all be aware of. So from a testing perspective, there are two broader categories, as you all know: functional and non-functional testing. Functional is more about validating and verifying whether your features, your product features, are functionally working or not, right? As per the requirement, as per the your user story, whether the product, the application functionalities are working or not is what you will validate in your functional testing, right? The functional testing, it can be at various level. It can be at the very unit level, a page, a component, service. It can be at the system level, integration testing, acceptance testing. So the testing can happen at various level, but the objective is to validate the feature. Feature can be your user interface. It can be an API. It can be your middleware component. It can be your database. It can be your integrated end-to-end testing. So pretty much what you do is the verify your functionality. And the other part of your testing is going to be a non-functional testing. Apart from your validating your actual functionality, you need to validate other aspect of your software, whether your software or your application is fast, whether it is reliable, whether it is usable, whether it is compatible, and whether it is secured or not, right? In functional testing, you will just verify that yes, my login is working, home page has arrived, I could able to search, I could able to make a order. If it is an e-commerce website, for example, I could able to log in, search for a product, I could able to add a product to a cart, and I could able to check out. All these things are functional aspects, right? um, how fast I could able to log in, how fast I could able to make a payment, whether my application is stable, whether I'm able to move from one page to another page, or am I getting any errors, right? Whether I could able to easily go and search for my login button, whether I could able to use the search functionality effectively, right? So all these things, usability, performance of your application, all comes under your non-functional testing, right? So in non-functional testing, there are there are more than these 4 or 5. Like accessibility testing is going to be there, your cross-browser testings, multiple things are there. But predominantly, when we speak about non-functional testing, we talk about performance, we talk about security, usability, compatibility, and also accessibility, right? So out of this, we are going to, in this course, we are going to focus on the security testing, right? Security testing is one of the non-functional testing where we are going to, our objective is to make sure that your application, your software, your components are, whether it is secured or not, right? From a data perspective, from a privacy perspective, from protecting your software, protecting your code, protecting your data, is going to be the ultimate objective of your security testing. Okay, it is more about identifying the vulnerabilities, identifying the weakness in your software through which attacker can get into your system to steal your data, to intrude into your system, to make your system unstable. All these things an hacker can do. A competitor, right, a potential competitor or an hacker can find ways to enter your network. They can steal data, they can bring down your software, which means your application, your company's reputation is going to come down by stealing the data. Say for example, you have your account in HDFC Bank, right? If a hacker tries to get into your HDFC Bank site, and if you could able to steal your privacy data, all your credit card information, all your personal information, and make it available in the public, right? It's going to be a reputation problem for HDFC Bank, right? Or a competitor can bring down your software, right? Say Amazon.com during your big billion days. If a competitor, a potential competitor, if you wanted to probably stop your business or impact your business, he can enter your system, enter your network, and he can uh, 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 disable your services. He can bring down your system. That is also one of the threat, right? It is just not stealing the data. It is also about bringing down your system so that your end user cannot access it, right? So security testing is more about identifying that probable vulnerabilities and weakness so that your attackers cannot exploit those, right? Um, so as I was mentioning, these are the various things you do it across various non-functional testing, right? In your functional testing, you validate your functionality, you identify your bugs, and validate your software against your requirement. Guys, somebody says they cannot able to hear the voice. Is everybody could able to hear the voice, or is having somebody having problem?
It's fine for me.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so functional testing is more about verifying the functionality, identifying the bugs and errors, and validating it under the with the user requirements. Performance is more about speed and responsiveness. Make sure that your application is scalable and identifying the bottlenecks. Security testing is more about identifying the vulnerabilities, ensuring the data protection, and then preventing these outages and attacks. Right? See, for example, if I take an any application, for example, let me go to an e-commerce site. Okay, from a functionality testing, what I will do, I'll come here, click this product, whether the product page is coming or not. When I add this product to the cart, there are beginners to the software industry as well in this group. So I just wanted to spend some time more on the basics before I jump into the actual course content. Please, others who are very much into the testing, please excuse. Okay, so you add a cart and then it says album has been added to your cart, right? This is what you're going to verify in your functional testing. When it comes to your performance testing, right? What you typically do, how fast it is going to um, load when I'm going to click this view cart, right? It is going to respond in 3 seconds or 5 seconds or 7 seconds. That's what you're going to validate. I mean, there are a lot of things into performance testing, but to be very keep it at eye level, when you click something, it responded in 7.94 seconds. If you see in the bottom of the page, it says load time is 7.94. So this is your response time. From a performance testing, you will main objective is to determine how fast your page is loading when you do an action. Similarly, when it comes to security testing, um, what you will validate is, okay, from I land into this page, whether I would be able to use any of these input fields. Right? A page can have multiple user actions. It can have form fields to enter data. There can be query params in the URL. So the entry point, I'm just saying at a very high level, right? For you to understand these difference. There are many entry levels into your application. As an end user, um, you will be as an hacker, you will be launching the site, and then for you, entering into your system is through this URL. You can type in something, okay, and through which you would be able to get into the system, or you would be able to use these input fields. It can be a search button, it could be your forms through which you can type in something. You can feed in JavaScript, you can enter some SQLs, you can do a lot of things through these entry points or form fields, your search, your URLs. There are multiple things, but these are the three. These are the few of these entry point through which a hacker can actually type in something or inject something, and then he can get into the system. So, from a security testing point of view, we are going to validate and then exploit these input categories, and then see whether your application is properly secured or not, or is it developed and deployed properly to avoid any of these security loopholes, right? So same e-commerce application, a functional tester will validate the functionality, a performance tester will validate how fast it is loading, a security tester will go and validate all these entry points to see whether it accepts SQLs, whether it accepts JavaScript, whether it could able to manipulate any of these data. If I type in, say, my accounts one, whether it gives you any information. It might give you 404 page not found. Additionally, is it something giving me additional information with which I can learn something about your software? Right? So that is at eye level about security testing. There are a lot of things we are going to learn. The basic difference between three different categories of your testing. Okay, fine. Now, why do we need to learn security testing? Right? You're already a developer or a functional tester or a performance tester, right? Or you might be new to the software industry. If you are new to the software industry, it is totally different because you're starting to learn a skill set, first software skill set. Security is not a bad thing to start with, right? But if you're already a functional tester or a performance tester, the natural progression, right, for a functional tester, you start with manual, you go into your automation testing, and you can also be an SDET. If you are good in programming languages, you can also be a more of a SDET, where you can be part of your development team plus your testing team, right? If you're a performance tester, you can strengthen your skill set into a performance engineering area, right? Performance testing, performance engineering, site reliability engineering, all these things are all um, um, uh, increasing your depth in your particular skill set. Okay, so while you are going to be strong in one area, in today's agile world, today's the way the softwares are developed and deployed, the way the teams are operating it, the expectation is to have a kind of a T-shaped skill set, right? A T-shaped skill set is in one area you will have depth of knowledge. For example, if you're a functional tester, you might be good in manual, you could be in automation, good in API, test data automations, test management tools, system testing, database testing. So you might be very good in depth of these areas. Or if you're a performance tester, you can be a tester, you can be a performance engineer, you could be a database performance engineer. So you might be very good in the depth of the performance domain itself. Right? Along with that, the expectation is to have a breadth of knowledge as well. Right? Breadth of knowledge is your one area you're going to have a depth, which is nothing but the vertical line of your T. Other is expanding your breadth, which means you should be, if you're a functional tester, it is good to learn a performance testing or accessibility testing or a security testing or a vice versa. Right? So in that perspective, if you already are in testing field and you're good in one thing, it is very much expected in this today's job market to be to have a breadth of knowledge in other testing areas. Right? The main reason is there are going to be small teams working on the your features or the modules, right? And you cannot always have 2-3 performance testers, 2-3 automation testers, or 2-3 security testers, right? There are going to be definitely one SME, right? SME is definitely required. We're not going to replace one or other. A performance tester cannot replace an automation tester or vice versa, but they can complement, right? Depending upon the particular sprint deliverable. In one of the sprint, there might be more work in performance testing, creating a lot of scripts, doing executions. In one of the sprint, there will be more work in the automation testing, right? So there will be an SME who can take care of the core part, but the other people should be able to support. The other people should be able to complement. That is where your breadth of knowledge is going to come into the picture, and that is where, if you are going to learn and then project yourself saying that you are a functional tester and also security testing, or if you are a performance tester also knowing security testing, you're going to be a major difference. It is going to be a major differentiation when you're going to go for an interview or going for a job change, or even within your organization itself to go into those kind of a projects. Okay, in that aspect, and that is the main objective of this course as well, right? To make yourself good in the other area of your testing. And for the people who are beginning, who are test leads, right? If you are already at 8-year experience, 10-year experience, you are managing a functional testing team or a performance testing team, definitely as you grow into it from a test lead to test manager, you might be having different testers, right? Functional testers, performance testers, security testers, accessibility tester. So for you to manage, you should know at least what is what, how it is done, the core part of the security testing. Great. So for test leads as well, it is going to definitely give a very good insight about the various tools, techniques, approach, methodology of security testing. Okay. Um, I'll before going into the course content, we looked into functional, non-functional, and within non-functional, various aspect of non-functional. When it comes to security testing, there is a lot of terminologies. There's a lot of areas as well, right? Um, like functional, we talk about A/B testing, system testing, test data automation, your database testing, right? Um, Even in performance, we talk about API performance, your web performance, but there are not a lot of ambiguity or a lot of terminologies. But when it comes to security, there are a lot of terminologies, a lot of way the security testing are handled. Okay, you will hear cyber security, you will hear security audit, you will hear ethical hacking, application security, vulnerability assessment, security audit, SAST, DAST, security scan, pen testing, threat modeling. Lot of these are there, and it's used um, in different projects, in different contexts. All these things are used interchangeably. Okay, so you should understand what is what before you start even learning about it, because in some places they will talk about cybersecurity. They will ask you whether you know cybersecurity. In some places they will ask whether you know ethical hacking. In some places they ask whether you know DAST, right? So you should know what are these broader categories. Okay, in very general, we all know about the word security, right? Um, you see physical security, you have cyber security. Physical security is nothing but in your office, in your organization, in your apartment, wherever you go, you have physical security. Physical security is more from protecting your physical assets. Somebody on mute. Let me go and mute them. Just give me 1 second. Okay, thanks. So physical security, as we all know, it is to protect your physical assets of an organization. Okay, it is protecting your people, it is protecting your facility, equipment against the unauthorized access and damage. The objective is same, right? Nobody should enter without a proper authorization, and nobody should be able to steal anything from your property or physically damage. That is the whole objective, right? Similarly, cyber security is more about protecting your software, your systems, your devices, your network from the cyber attack. Okay? Cyber will involve everything, right? From your network layer to your server layer to your application to your database, your middleware, everything included is your cyber security. Objective of cyber security is again protecting your data, your confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of the data, right? So that's a very broader category. Now, when you double click on the your software side of your security, you will hear three things. Okay, cyber security, software security, and your application security. Okay, cyber security, I have told you already, cyber security will include all the ecosystem. It will be your service, it could be your devices, it could be your network, it could be your computer, everything included is your cyber security. It is a superset. Okay, it will include everything. It will include your application A, application B, application C, your database, your middleware, your servers, your hard disk, your everything will be is a part of your cyber security, which is just very much a superset. Okay, in that, when you talk about software security, okay, very specifically to your, say, in an organization, okay, they will have your uh, PCs. Yeah, they will have your laptops. They will have your point of sale machines. They will have your devices. So protecting your individual softwares against viruses, against your any intrusion, any other threat, malwares is your software security. Your it is more towards your system software, right? System software can be your OS. It could be your specific in your organization. There will be multiple such softwares, right? It could be your Outlook. It could be your pre-installed softwares in your OS. So it's a very narrowed down is your software security. Again, all the terms used in your IT field. Okay, just want to understand what is what. Third is going to be your application security, which is our area. Okay, um, so you work for a project, you work for an application, right? In an organization, there can be multiple applications, right? Application security is going to be, say, if you are working in Amazon, Amazon will have multiple applications, right? Amazon.com is your online application. It might have it might have an order management system. It might have an inventory management system, right? There might be multiple application in Amazon, right? If you are part of a particular application, say Amazon.com, application security is more about protecting that application, testing, testing, and making sure that your that particular application is not vulnerable to any of the attacks. Okay, so cyber security. If somebody is going to talk about cyber security, it is very broader category. There might be security experts, security architects will be deployed at the enterprise level who will take care of your organization software, right? If you take a for example, if you take Xserver, or if you take Netflix, if you take Comcast, right? For entire Comcast as an organization, there will be a cyber security experts who will look into the overall enterprise level security. Similarly, in Comcast, there will be multiple softwares used by employees, all the laptops, all their hardware assets, all their software assets, right? At that level, there has to be a software security to make sure that it is up to date, the OS is up to date, hard disk is up to date, whether the antivirus is deployed properly. That is more about software security. When it comes to application security is where is our area, like application functional testing, like application security testing, application performance testing. Application security testing is also going to be uh, um, part of your our scope. Right? Just understand these terminologies, because when you, after learning this course, when you go and talk about these things, or when you hear something, you should be able to differentiate between what is the expectation. Are you going to be part of a cybersecurity team? Are you going to be part of the application security team? So you should know that boundary within application security testing. See, the way if you see here, we started from functional, non-functional, and then security. And in security, you have all these categories: cyber, software, and application. In application security itself, there are multiple again testing. Right? Um, when you look into your application, you're going to have a code, right? And your code is going to get built and it is going to get deployed, and then you will use it as an end user, right? So testing your code, right? Probably if you are a functional testing tester, you might have heard about tools like SonarQube, right? It will do the validation at the code level, and it will provide you the test coverage, etc. Right? So SAST is the static application security testing. It is one category of your application security testing where you will run the scan against the code, and then see what kind of vulnerabilities are there in the at the code level. Okay, that's why it is called a static. You will not access your URL, or you will not log in, nothing. It's a static. You have 100 Java files, 100 Python files. All the files, every line of code will be scanned by a security testing tool like SonarQube, like Checkmarks. There are a lot of static analysis tool in the market which can scan through your Java code, .NET code, Python code, and it will tell you there are 100 vulnerabilities, 300 vulnerabilities, 1000 vulnerabilities. Okay. The opposite to SAST is the DAST, Dynamic Application Security Testing. Okay. In dynamic application security testing, it is a black box. Like you do functional testing, right? Somebody is going to code, somebody is going to build, and they're going to deploy it. Once it is deployed, you're going to get a URL, and you log into URL and you do a functional testing, right? Or you do a performance testing. Similarly, you as a security tester, you will access your that URL, you will navigate through, okay, and then you will manually audit the pages. You will try to manipulate the URL, query params, input field, body, all these things. You will try to change. You will wear the hacker's hat, and then you will try to exploit it both manually, and there are also automated testing tool like Burp Suite or Zap or AppScan to do this DAST. Okay, so DAST is the dynamic application security testing. SAST and DAST. Okay, most of the time SAST will not be handled by the testing team most of the time, because it's at the code level. Okay, the vulnerabilities that is going to come out also, it is going to be saying that this code is not good, this code is having a problem which we might not understand, right? So most of the time the SAST tools will run in a pipeline. Somebody is going to code, and then they are going to commit. Immediately the scan is going to run, and developer will get the report. Okay, so it's more of a developer oriented scanning, the SAST one. So 99% we will not do the SAST scan by the testing team. Okay, if you are good in Java, if you are good in .NET or Python, what are programming languages, you can also take place in this scanning process. You can also analyze the report, and you can provide that recommendation to the developer, but it is not mandatory, it is not expected also. So think that your scope is not going to be your from a SaaS perspective. Okay, and there's also no manual work will be there in SaaS. You just upload, you just provide the your repo. It could be a Git repo or a Bitbucket repo. A tool is going to scan, and it's going to provide the report. Okay, so nothing that we will do from a tester perspective. Whereas in DAST, it is going to include both manual audit, manual exploitation, analysis, plus tool oriented also. So you will do both combinedly. Okay. And as a security tester, or even as a functional tester or a performance tester, we will definitely get involved, even if you're not a security expert. See, we are not a security expert here, right? We're all beginner from a security testing perspective. You're not going to replace a security tester immediately. But even being a functional tester, you can do a lot of DAST, which we will look into tomorrow. Okay. Just by doing few things as you navigate, there are multiple vulnerabilities you can find out, multiple weakness you can find out. Okay. DAST is a one which you are going to focus in this course. SAST, as I said, it's not going to be part of your testing project. Only DAST is going to be. Predominantly, we will be doing it as a security tester or application security tester. Other two are SCA and IAST. Okay, SCA is there are a lot of open source softwares, libraries that a developer will include in this software. Okay, it could be MySQL connection jar file. It could be a database libraries for connecting to Oracle or a MongoDB. Java itself is open source software, right? So there's a lot of open source software the developer is going to use, and there can be a lot of vulnerabilities in those software itself, right? So one is your custom code, other is going to be your open source software which you are going to bundle it. Okay, for example, if you are an automation tester, you might have used a lot of jar files in your Selenium script, right? Selenium itself is an open source software. You might be using a lot of other jar files downloaded from the Maven or other repos. Okay, so SCA is more about validating your third-party components or your open source library, whether it is having the vulnerability or not. Okay, again, this SCA is a pure play automated scanning. So you pass on your configuration files, your form files, or your the libraries, right? From your repos, automatically a tool can scan through all these open source libraries and it will provide the report. Okay, so a testing team can be more of a gating here, whether pass or fail. You will not be going and analyzing it or exploiting it. No, it is more of a functional validation. SCA is, again, you can term it as a functional validation because you're going to check whether there are any open source vulnerability or not. If it is there, you're going to raise a defect, and your developer has to fix it. Okay, so SCA also, there is nothing we are going to be part of. Okay, then comes your interactive security testing. Okay, this is something new to the market. Again, we don't have, as a security tester, we don't have much play in that. It is more about, it's a combination of SAST and DAST. There is going to be an agent that is going to be installed in your server. If you are a performance tester, right, you will know. There's a question for SCA. There are tools like Black Duck. Okay, Black Duck can do these open source validation, and then it can provide you these list of vulnerabilities. Okay, so in the IAST, if you are a performance tester or a performance engineer, you will know about Dynatrace agent. Okay, there are tools in the market for interactive security testing where agent will be installed in your server. Okay, and as you navigate, right, as you log in, as you do some searches, the agent will collect certain statistics which will audit the way the APIs are invoked, the code is invoked, and it is going to provide you the possible vulnerabilities. Okay, as I said again, this is something, again, it's not going to be part of our scope. It is mostly this will be deployed in the production. Okay, the IaaS tools are going to be deployed in the production to proactively monitor your application under any kind of a security threats. Okay, so SAST, SCA, IAST, We no need to get into the details because it's something we are not going to work on it as a security tester. DAST is a very, very huge area because just think like this: your hacker, the person who wanted to attack, right? They will not get into your code. They will not know about your open source vulnerabilities, right? They will know only your URL, Amazon.com, your Flipkart.com. For them, the entry point is your URL, a black box, right? So, as a security tester, you are also going to test it as a black box, like an hacker, and then see exploit various loopholes, and then see whether the vulnerabilities are there or not. So, DAST is a main area to test and validate, and then make sure that there is no vulnerabilities. Okay, so hope you are clear on the various components. So in this, if you see threat modeling and all, I'll talk about later. It's more about the architectural review. Um, so there can be multiple these terminologies, but very clear. Make it very clear. We are going to learn application level security. In application level security, we are going to learn dynamic application security testing, because you need 3, 4, 5, 6 different courses to go into everything. What we're going to learn very specifically for your current area of experience, you're going to get into the security testing. For that, this is the area which you should focus on, not on the SAST. SAST will be done by the tool. SCA will be done by the tool. We don't have, anybody can do it. Anybody can learn, anybody can do it. So this is not, doesn't require a expertise. To fix the problem, to remediate the problem, you need skill set which developer will have it. Right? So tester will not have any role in SAST or SCA, only on the DAST. Okay, so what we're going to learn. So far we have just gone into various concepts, various basics. What is what we have seen in last 30-40 minutes, right? Now getting into the our course, right? In the next 2 to 3 weeks, right? What we are going to learn? We are going to learn the key concepts from a security testing. Okay, the base which you need to have to get into security testing. Your HTTPS protocols, underlying network protocols like UDP, TCP. What are those? SSL versus TLS, various HTTP methods, status codes, cookies, cryptography, encoding, decoding, hashing, salting, cookies. All these things are all the very, very basic things you should know from a security testing perspective. As a functional tester, as a performance tester, you might already be aware of the web services, API calls. In the API calls, HTTP, you might have seen HTTP, HTTPS, right? But more from a security angle, we will go and learn these concepts, these basics with examples. Practically, we'll go and try to grasp this knowledge. Okay. And then we will get into, we'll talk about what is attack vectors, attack surface as we get into the more into the security testing. It is vectors and surface is more about test strategy. Okay, you create your testing test strategy, functional test strategy, you create your performance test strategy, right? Similarly, by looking into the application, you should be able to, as a security tester, you should know what are the various way I can test it, what are the various way I can penetrate or I can exploit. That is what your vectors and surface. Okay, vectors and surface is more about what way I can exploit this application, what ways I can go and explore this application to find out the vulnerabilities. Right. So these also we will look into what is attack vectors and surface, which will be part of your security testing strategy. Okay. The tool, from a tool perspective, there are a lot of tools. Again, like your automation tool or performance tool, there are a lot of tools in the market. Anyway, the objective is to explore, exploit, and then find out the vulnerabilities, right? So there's a app scan from HCL, Fortify from Micro Focus. You have open source tool like Zap, and then you have very, very popular tool called Burp Suite. Okay, Burp Suite has a community edition, which is free. It is, and also has a professional edition with few more rich features. Okay, so from this course perspective, we will go and learn Burp Suite completely. Okay, from a community edition as well as the professional edition. We'll try to learn how to install, how to configure, how to do the proxy settings, capturing the traffic, intercepting the traffic, modifying the traffic, and then intruding it. There are a lot of components in Burp Suite, which we'll learn with a lot of examples. Okay, and in security testing, right? They call it as a OAPS top 10. In every 3 years, 4 years, they will find out top 10 vulnerabilities that is happening across your cyber, that across your web application, right? They group the top 10. Top 10 could be authentication. Because of the weak authentication, attack can happen. Because of the encoding or decoding of your software, hacking can happen. Because of the SQL injection, JavaScript injection, the hacking can happen or the attack can happen. So there are the OAPS is the community set of security architects, experts across the globe. They will sit together and establish this top 10. So we will validate your application against this top 10. Okay, when you go and look into amazon.com, when you validate your authentication, whether it is done properly, whether I could able to log in with a wrong password, I can give repeatedly give a wrong username password, for example, I'm saying, right? And if I could able to somehow break the authentication, that is part of your authentication vulnerability, right? So each category, there are top 10 category uh, defined by your this OAPS group, okay, against which you will test your application. Okay, so you can just think that it is a 10 top 10 defects, top 10 defects, top 10 most common defects that you can expect in a web application. Okay, we'll go and learn what are those top 10, and in that top 10, we'll go and look into some 4 or 5 in depth, right? We will go and learn about SQL injection, which is very popular, very common vulnerability. And any interviews, any places you go, they will talk about SQL injection for sure. So we'll go very in depth into SQL injection. What is SQL injection? What are the techniques available to detect the injection? What are the various payload to test the SQL injection? And also we'll go and use a sample Java code to understand how a code is written badly, which is allowing this SQL injection. We'll look into from a black box perspective. We'll use an application where an SQL injection problem is there. We'll try to test it, and then we'll also look into the code. We'll go and fix it, and then we'll go and test it again, right? So SQL injection is something we'll look into in detail. Similarly, there are broken access control, JavaScript attack, and then there is cross-site attack, server-side request forgery, information disclosure, file upload vulnerabilities. All these things are different OAPS category. We'll go and understand what is that vulnerability, what is the impact. We will go and execute few exercises, and then to understand what is the vulnerability, why it is happening as well, right? With all these things are going to be practical. So pretty much concepts, it will be a little theoretical plus, but I'll make it a little interesting with some examples. As we go on, all these vulnerabilities, it's all going to be pretty much 25% theoretical, remaining everything is going to be practical. Okay, and we also will learn about some of these passive scanning, right? When I say passive scanning, all these SQL injection, JavaScript injection, all these things are all more of a active scan. You will actively attack, which means we should not try out in any of the public website. Okay, we cannot go and do the payload manipulation or change the URL and try something out in the public website. All our active scan. I'll talk about more in tomorrow. What you should not do. If you do something wrong, we will end up with some problem. Okay, they will might block you accessing some of the website. You cannot go and try to execute these in against Amazon.com or HDFCBank.com. Whatever you're going to learn, we're not going to experiment. We're not going to do hands-on against any of the public website. No active scan has to be done against any of the public website. Okay, you'll learn as you go along. There is something called passive scan. You will not change anything. You will not um, manipulate anything. Okay, you will just hit it, observe. You go to Amazon.com, log in, search. You just navigate. You just observe few things. With that, you can identify a lot of problems, even with the passive scan itself. So we'll try to learn what is that passive scan, how we can use developer tool to audit those request and response, your request headers, response body, response headers, and then see whether these things are going to lead into any of these security vulnerabilities. In fact, there is something, a category called security misconfiguration in OAP's top 10, which is one of the top 10 vulnerability that you can identify using the passive scan itself. As a functional tester, you can easily go and identify the vulnerabilities that belongs to one of the OAPs category. Okay, and as part of that, there is something called tool called Nmap also, to which will go and do the port scanning, and it can actually identify what are the open ports for your application. So we'll try to learn what is the Nmap, what is the applicability of Nmap, how we'll use the Nmap from a security test strategy as well. Okay, so all these things is what we have planned over the 2 to 3 weeks, and we will use couple of websites. We'll use Isha Training Solutions. I have a e-library application which are a little vulnerable, which I will give to you. And then there's something called demotestfire.net. So all these URLs, we will use it practically to test, validate, find out problems. And from a tool perspective, as I said, Burp Suite, we'll use it. I'll also use Zap since it's open source. It is not preferred because it has a lot of false positive results. Okay, it will give a lot of issues which are not actually a issue. So Zap is a popular open source tool, but we don't see much usage. Okay, we'll also use Wireshark initially from a concept perspective. To understand the concept, we'll use Wireshark network monitoring to capture your request and response, to look into your protocols, to look into the request and response. We'll use Wireshark. Okay, so Burp Suite is going to be a main security testing tool which we'll use it, and we'll also use Wireshark and your proxy tool. Okay, all these tools and softwares are also going to be part of this Google Drive. Okay, in the Google Drive, you'll have these softwares. You will have a sample applications. You will have payloads which we are going to use it in the during the testing. Right, all these things are going to be available in this drive. You will get an access to this as well once you enroll. Okay, so this course is going to be between same time like today, the way we are met today. It's going to be between 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. IST. Okay, I'll pass here. Okay, there are multiple questions in the chat which I'll go over. Prerequisite and opportunities in the market. See, the prerequisite is, if you are into testing, it will be better because you already know what is testing and you've been part of the application performance or functional testing. So prerequisite is some level of testing if you've done already, which is going to be good. If you're going to be new to the software industry, that is also fine, because we are learning security testing from a beginner perspective only. But some level of software development or some level of software testing, if you have it, that would be the prerequisite. Otherwise, I don't see a major prerequisite for this course. If you already a functional tester, a performance tester, it will be good for you from a career perspective. If you are new to software industry, absolutely still you can learn. Okay, see, Kali Linux is not required. Okay, the reason the Kali Linux is going to be pre-built image with all these kind of tools. Okay, if you go and spin up a mission in cloud, say Amazon, with Kali Linux as a OS, you will have all these softwares pre-built, like your Burp Suite, your Nmap, your Wireshark, and there are a lot of other small utilities that is going to be used for your testing. So for us, for this course, we are not going to look into the Kali Linux, and there is prerequisite is also not to, if you have a Windows laptop in your with you, and few tools which I'm going to talk, which I told, right? Burp Suite you have to install. You have to install Wireshark, your developer tools. Pretty much that should be enough for you to learn and do hands-on whatever I teach you. Okay, so Kali Linux is not something required. Duration is going to be it's going to be between 12 to 15 hours. So which means it's going to be 3 weeks for sure. Okay, so 12 to 15 hours is what we plan to, but it will be plus or minus 2 hours always. So you can assume that it is going to be between 12 to 15 hours. Okay, how useful is to do security testing on SaaS application like Salesforce and ServiceNow? Is it recommended? Okay, see, SaaS based application, right? Somebody is going to provide you the software as a product, software as a service. Okay, which means your team, if you are um, if you are going to consume that application, somebody is going to host that. Salesforce is going to host your application. They're going to take care of their network, their security, their firewall. Everything is going to be taken care by your the SaaS provider, right? So you as a consumer, okay, you can still do the security auditing. You will might not be able to do SaaS for sure. You cannot do SCA for sure, but you can do the DAST, okay, because the data which is there is going to be in that SaaS is going to be your customer data, right? So you'll have all rights to do the DAST, and then to ensure that your data is protected. Okay, DAST is still applicable, but it depends upon the contract. Okay, depends upon what kind of software your service level agreement you're going to establish between you and your SaaS provider. uh, but it is not mandatory, but you can still if you wanted to still from a compliance perspective, you can still go and do a DAST if it is required, but definitely not SAST and SCA. DAST is also something in not a lot of places, because you're just going to consume it, right? The SaaS provider themselves will do all these things anyway. They will provide you the reports. They will provide you that final report, or they will share you how it is protected. Okay, but they will have their own security testing team, right? The SaaS provider will have their own security testing team who will do everything and make sure that your server and data is all protected. As a consumer, if you are going to say, for example, if you are in HCL, okay, and you have got Udemy for your employees, okay, and Udemy is going to be a SaaS, right? You're not going to do the testing on Udemy, right? Whether it is secured or not, right? Because you are going to consume it only. It is not required. If you think that your end users are going to use your SaaS application, and if the data and privacy is important, you can still go and work with them to do some level of DAST. But otherwise, it is not required for SaaS-based application. Is it necessary to learn basics of software testing before learning security testing? See, as I said, if you are a fresher, right, functional testing is new, security testing is new, performance testing is also new for you, and it is not really mandatory to learn something called testing. There's nothing called testing basics. Whatever I told you at the beginning, right? If you have that basic understanding of that, I think it should be more than enough. Okay. Having 9 years of experience, DevOps, Linux, database, performance testing, this will be added advantage. Yes, definitely. right? You already have 9 years of experience across performance testing areas. This is going to be increasing your breadth of knowledge. Okay, I'm just running through a lot of private messages and the group messages. You're having 15 years of experience. See, as I said, in general, right, a lot of questions about your experience, and if you already are into functional, if you are into performance, definitely the way you can plan your career, you can go into depth as well. If you're a performance tester, you can go and learn engineering as well, right, which will improve your depth, or you can improve your breadth by going into the other areas like accessibility or security. Okay, what else? What else? What is scope of AAML in security testing? Definitely, when it comes to production monitoring, right? Your understanding. See, there are going to be a lot of firewall rules. There are going to be a lot of um, if somebody is trying to attack your network or an infra, there is a lot of AML algorithms going to be deployed to understand whether it is a possible threat or is something trying to attack. At that protection and production monitoring, production alerts, definitely AML is going to play a huge role in protecting, proactively monitoring and sending the alerts. Your AML is going to play a lot of role in it. Okay, from a SaaS as well at the code level also, your GitHub Copilot or other such AI tools, right? It's going to help in providing recommendation for the developer to write a proper code. Okay, so in these two areas, something comes into my mind: production monitoring, alert, proactive monitoring against security threats, and at the code level for security, writing secured code, ML is going to help definitely. Okay, I'll stop it here. Okay, there are a lot of people have other questions as well.
Hi, Satish. I have a couple of questions. First one would be the application which we would be trying to inject things into. Would that be scapegoat or where would it be deployed? Because if it's over internet, there will be firewall issues. How is it going to go about? And the next question is,
No, no,
which
no.
of
Sorry.
the
Can you
vulnerabilities?
can you repeat the first question itself? I didn't get it properly.
Uh, you said there we'll be doing some practical hands-on of injections and XSS or maybe some other. There were a few mentioned. I
Okay,
couldn't
can you? Okay.
catch hold of all them. So, what application are we going to inject into? Would it be scapegoat or would it be an application over internet? Because as far as I understand, over internet, we might not be able to inject anything because of firewalls. So would the application be deployed by us on our laptops locally and then looking into it? How is it going to be?
Yeah. So one, we will use this site called Demo Testfire, which is actually a application available over the web. Okay, it is from HCL as per the app scan. Okay, they have published this website which is vulnerable. Okay, which we'll be using it. We'll also be having I'll also give you the e-library application which you can deploy it in your mission, which means it is not over web, which is going to be deployed in your application. Okay, and we'll also use Burpsuit's website, Websuit web services, web pages, which are again over the internet, but it is allowed for you to do this kind of manipulation injection. So
Correct, because legal
you
issues do get into
yeah,
picture,
you
right?
rightly called out. You rightly called out the active scan manipulating your request or trying to change something in the response, in the payload or in the URL. You should not do it against any of the public website, which will it don't go to a legal problem, but definitely they will try to block your IPs and all. Okay, it is not, you should not do it. So you should use only the sites which I'll be telling you over the course, which are something, this Demo Testfire, and then you will have a application which you can deploy it in your mission. And there is also burp suit specific URLs are there, which I will give it to you while we go into each of the topics. Yeah, that's how we'll do it.
And the
Okay.
second part of the question was, which of the vulnerabilities are we going to practically test and get into? There was a list. Sorry, I missed it. If you could.
Yeah, SQL injection, and then
Uh-huh.
your JavaScript injection, and then broken access control, file upload vulnerabilities, and then CSRF, client side and both server side request forgery. So 5 to 6 different vulnerabilities we will be learning with the hands-on.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. If you guys still have questions around, is it relevant for me? Is it good for me to learn spending those 3 weeks learning? If you have any questions on the applicability, you can ping me in my in the group, and we can connect over the phone tomorrow sometime, and we can discuss, and then you can decide if you have any questions. Or if you have any other questions regarding the course content and all, you can probably ask this question tomorrow as well, at the beginning of the session. Okay, or message in the WhatsApp as well. Okay, any questions related to the registration to the course, and then the payment related questions, you can reach out to the admins in the WhatsApp group, or you can also reach out to Kumar sir. The number is given in this slide. Okay, but feel free to put a message if you have any questions, or if you want to connect and understand the applicability, whether it is really good or good to learn or not with your experience, with your current skill set. Feel free to message me and we can connect tomorrow. Okay, I'll stop it here, guys. We'll connect tomorrow. Yeah, thank you.